Hi guys, Sam here. So in the world and the research of human happiness, human potential, human health and well-being, there's been a huge sea change over the last 5 or 6 years around the importance, the value of spirituality and the impact that that living with a more spiritually orientated outlook has on our experience of living day-to-day life and how happy, healthy, contented, peaceful, joyful we are. And that spirituality outside of the parameters of organized religion, it's not talking about religion specifically, it's talking exclusively around spirituality, believing in something bigger than ourselves, believing in some kind of higher energy, higher organizing power. And what it shows is that when people begin existing with a sense, a consciousness around there being something bigger than us, the more we engage with that, the generally speaking, the healthier and happier and more contented we are. And there's a brilliant Vedic parable that articulates this point, where there's a poor street merchant who urgently needs money, and he approaches a big businessman in a suit and begs for money, and the businessman quickly pulls out a check and says, "I haven't got time for this," and just scribbles the numbers, 4 noughts onto a checkbook. The poor merchant is overjoyed, runs to the bank, gives it to the cashier, and they hurl abuse at him and say, "This is worthless, it's meaningless, it's just 4 noughts." He realized there was no one, so it was just 4 noughts, it was worthless. So he ran back to the businessman and said, "This is what happened, could you write it again?" And in a rush and a hurry, the businessman gets a new check out, and this time puts another nought on, puts 5 noughts. The poor man runs to the bank, the same thing happens. The addition of a nought didn't have any value without the 1. Finally, he goes back to the businessman and says, "Listen, this is what's happened. You keep on forgetting to put the 1. Finally, the businessman concentrates and he puts an extra nought and a 1. The poor trader goes to the bank and finally cashes his 1 million rupees. And the moral of the story is that you can keep on adding noughts, but without the 1, the value becomes meaningless. And it's the same within our life and spirituality. All of the noughts, the houses, cars, passions, interests, people, hobbies, bank balances, you can keep on adding more things, more noughts, more achievements, more success. But without the 1, we don't get the full value of those other things. Whereas if we have all those things, if we have a lovely house and we drive a nice car and we've got hobbies and a great family and a job we love, if we add a 1 in front of those, which is spirituality, if we add another dimension, that 1 brings immense transformative value to everything else, to every facet of our life, because we engage in the world with a more curious, positive, engaged, happy, protected, fearless outlook. And it's a really, really key question. And when we're working clinically with patients, it's a question we always tease apart. Are you aware of spirituality? Are you aware of a spiritual dimension to your life? Because we've seen when people answer that with a yes, I do, they have better recoveries, better outcomes, higher qualities of life. And actually in the email below, you'll see a questionnaire that can help you assess your level of spirituality. But a key question would be, Am I engaged with, connected to a spiritual self? Because if you are, then the research would suggest it's a brilliant framework for living a happier, more contented life.